On December 6, 1994, Orange County, California, one of the wealthiest counties in America, home to Disneyland, beach mansions, and millionaire entrepreneurs, did something unthinkable. It declared bankruptcy, not because of a natural disaster, not because industries collapsed, but because one man, a 69-year-old treasurer named Bob Citron, had gambled away $1.6 billion of public money on financial instruments he didn't fully understand. This wasn't supposed to happen in Orange County. This was Reagan country, a conservative stronghold where fiscal responsibility was gospel. Yet somehow, their trusted treasurer had turned the county's investment pool into a casino, betting billions on complex derivatives that even Wall Street professionals struggled to comprehend. When interest rates moved the wrong way, the house of cards collapsed overnight. Schools couldn't pay teachers. Cities couldn't pay for police. The richest county in America was suddenly broke. What you're about to learn isn't just the story of one catastrophic failure. It's a warning about what happens when nobody's watching the people watching your money. If you want to understand the economic disasters that shaped our modern financial system, the ones that happened while most people weren't paying attention, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Also take a moment to like this video. Your support really helps and makes a difference. This is The Sleeping Economist, where we uncover the financial stories you slept through. Chapter 1. The Wizard of Orange County. To understand how Orange County went bankrupt, you first need to understand Bob Citron. For 24 years, Robert Citron had been Orange County's treasurer tax collector, and for most of that time, he was considered a genius. While other county treasurers were earning 5% returns on taxpayer money, Citron was delivering 7%, 8%, sometimes even 9% returns year after year. Here's how county investment pools work. Think of them like a shared savings account. Cities, school districts, water departments. They all have tax money sitting around waiting to be spent. Instead of each entity managing their own funds, they pool it together and the county treasurer invests it. In Orange County, 187 different government agencies had put their money into Citron's pool. By 1994, he was managing $7.5 billion. The county loved Citron because his high returns meant they could keep taxes low while maintaining services. Orange County had some of the lowest taxes in California, yet could still afford excellent schools, libraries, and infrastructure. Citron had become so successful that other counties started investing in his pool too. He was the Warren Buffett of municipal finance. But here's what nobody understood. Citron wasn't actually a financial genius. He was a college dropout who'd worked his way up through the county bureaucracy. He didn't have an MBA or formal financial training. What he had was a relationship with Merrill Lynch salespeople who sold him increasingly complex investments and a board of supervisors who didn't ask questions as long as the returns kept coming. The foundation of Citron's strategy was something called leverage. Here's how it worked. Let's say you have $100 to invest. Normal investing means you buy $100 worth of bonds. But Citron would take that $100, use it as collateral to borrow another $200, and invest $300 total. If your investment goes up 1%, you don't just make $1, you make $3. Of course, if it goes down 1%, you lose $3. By 1994, Citron had leveraged the county's $7.5 billion into a $20 billion position. He was borrowing almost $2 for every dollar he actually had. This was already dangerous, but it was about to get much worse. Chapter 2. Dancing with derivatives. This brings us to the real weapons of financial destruction: derivatives. A derivative is a financial contract whose value depends on something else, like betting on whether interest rates will go up or down. Citron's favorite derivatives were called inverse floaters. Let me explain inverse floaters with a simple analogy. Imagine you're betting on a basketball game, but instead of betting on who wins, you're betting on the combined score. An inverse floater is like betting the total score will be low. If the score stays low, you win big. But if the score goes high, you don't just lose your bet. You have to pay extra for every point over. In financial terms, inverse floaters paid high interest when rates were low, but paid less, or even required payments, when rates went up. Citron had billions invested in these instruments, essentially making a massive bet that interest rates would stay low or go lower. Throughout 1993, this strategy worked beautifully. The Federal Reserve had kept interest rates low to help the economy recover from the 1990-91 recession. Citron's inverse floaters were printing money. His 1993 returns were an astounding 8.5%, nearly double what most treasurers achieved. But storm clouds were gathering. The economy was recovering faster than expected. Inflation was starting to creep up. Wall Street analysts began predicting the Federal Reserve would raise interest rates to cool things down. When Citron's assistant treasurer, Matthew Rabe, tried to warn him about the risk, Citron dismissed him. He'd been doing this for over 20 years. He knew better than some Wall Street worrywarts. Merrill Lynch, which was making millions in fees selling these derivatives to Citron, kept reassuring him everything was fine. They even helped him borrow more money to double down on his bets. Internal Merrill Lynch documents later revealed that salespeople called Citron a sitting duck and noted he doesn't understand the products he's buying. By early 1994, Citron had purchased over $8 billion in inverse floaters and other complex derivatives. He was so confident that he actually increased his borrowing, leveraging the pool to nearly 3 times its actual value. When a candidate ran against him in the June 1994 election, warning that the portfolio was too risky, Citron won in a landslide. Voters trusted their financial wizard. Then, on February 4, 1994, the Federal Reserve did something it hadn't done in 5 years. It raised interest rates. Chapter 3. The Collapse. The first rate hike was small, just 0.25 percentage point, but it was like the first domino falling. Markets that had assumed rates would stay low forever suddenly panicked. Bond prices dropped. Citron's inverse floaters began losing value. Here's where the leverage made everything catastrophic. Remember, if you borrow money to invest and your investment drops, you still owe the full amount you borrowed. The lenders who had given Citron money to leverage his investments started getting nervous. They wanted more collateral. Basically, they wanted Citron to put up more assets to guarantee the loans. But Citron couldn't provide more collateral without selling some investments, and selling would mean locking in losses. He decided to wait it out, convinced rates would drop again. Instead, the Fed raised rates again in March, then again in April and May. By November 1994, rates had been raised 6 times, from 3% to 5.5%. Each rate hike was like a punch to the gut. The inverse floaters weren't just losing money, they were hemorrhaging it. By October, the pool had lost $1.5 billion. But here's the truly insane part. Almost nobody knew. Citron was only required to report to the Board of Supervisors once a year, and he used accounting tricks to hide the losses. The end came suddenly. In late November, the Wall Street firms that had loaned money to Citron demanded he put up more collateral, $1 billion more. Citron couldn't do it. On December 1, 1994, he walked into a meeting with county officials and admitted the truth. The investment pool had lost at least $1.5 billion, maybe more. The county supervisors were stunned. They'd been told just weeks earlier that everything was fine. Now they learned that money meant for schools, roads, and police might be gone. They tried desperately to borrow money or sell assets, but word leaked to Wall Street. Nobody wanted to touch Orange County's toxic portfolio. On December 6, 1994, Orange County filed for bankruptcy protection. It was the largest municipal bankruptcy in American history. The conservative bastion of fiscal responsibility was officially broke. The announcement sent shockwaves across America. If Orange County could go bankrupt, was any municipality safe? Markets plunged. Credit agencies downgraded hundreds of municipal bonds. The derivatives market froze as investors realized many didn't understand what they owned. Chapter 4. Picking up the pieces. The immediate impact was chaos. Orange County had to slash its budget by $170 million. Over 1,000 county employees were laid off. Services were cut to the bone. The county had to close libraries, reduce sheriff patrols, and delay infrastructure projects. Some cities in the pool lost 20% of their funds overnight. But the real victims were the smaller agencies that had trusted Citron with everything. The Orange County Transportation Authority lost $180 million. Local school districts lost millions meant for classrooms and teachers. The city of Irvine alone lost $15 million. These agencies had to make brutal choices: lay off teachers or cut student programs, reduce police coverage or close parks. The legal aftermath was swift and brutal. Bob Citron was arrested and charged with securities fraud. In court, his lawyers argued something shocking. Citron literally didn't understand what he had done wrong. Psychological testing revealed he had the math skills of a seventh grader. This was the man managing billions in complex derivatives. Citron eventually pled guilty to 6 felonies but served less than a year in jail, mostly on work release. Matthew Rabe, his assistant who had tried to warn about the risks, was also convicted, though his conviction was later overturned. The cruel irony wasn't lost on anyone. The whistleblower got punished while Wall Street walked away. Speaking of Wall Street, Orange County sued Merrill Lynch for $2 billion, claiming they had sold inappropriate investments to an unsophisticated client. Merrill Lynch eventually settled for $400 million while admitting no wrongdoing. Other Wall Street firms paid smaller settlements. In total, the county recovered about $600 million, not nearly enough to make investors whole. The bankruptcy proceedings were messy. Some agencies got 77 cents on the dollar. Others got more, some got less. It took years of litigation to sort out who was owed what. The county itself didn't emerge from bankruptcy until June 1996, 18 months after filing. But the damage to Orange County's reputation was permanent. The conservative county that prided itself on fiscal responsibility had become a national punchline. Property values dropped. Businesses reconsidered expansions. The aura of invincibility was shattered. Chapter 5: Changing the Game. The Orange County bankruptcy changed municipal finance forever. Within months, new regulations swept across the country. California passed laws requiring county treasurers to have more financial education and oversight. Investment pools had to report their holdings monthly, not annually. Derivatives use was restricted or banned outright in many jurisdictions. The Government Accounting Standards Board created new rules requiring municipalities to clearly disclose their derivatives exposure. The Securities and Exchange Commission increased oversight of municipal advisors. Rating agencies changed how they evaluated municipal debt. The Wild West days of municipal investing were over. The bankruptcy also changed how Wall Street dealt with government clients. Banks had to implement suitability standards. Basically, they couldn't sell complex products to unsophisticated investors anymore. The days of treating municipal treasurers like sitting ducks were supposedly over, though scandals would continue to emerge. For Orange County itself, recovery was slow and painful. It took years to rebuild services to pre-bankruptcy levels. The county had to pass its first sales tax increase ever, a half-cent tax that voters had rejected multiple times before but finally approved out of desperation. The anti-tax paradise had been forced to raise taxes because of one man's gambling. The political establishment was completely reshuffled. The entire Board of Supervisors was eventually replaced. The treasurer position was reformed with strict investment guidelines and oversight requirements. The county created a new risk management system with multiple layers of review. Never again would one person have unchecked control over billions. The psychological impact lingered longest. Orange County had always seen itself as different, richer, smarter, more conservative than the rest of California. The bankruptcy shattered that self-image. It was a humbling reminder that wealth and sophistication don't guarantee good judgment. Interestingly, some good came from the disaster. The bankruptcy forced Orange County to modernize its government, eliminate redundancies, and become more efficient. Some services actually improved after being rebuilt from scratch. The crisis had forced innovation that comfortable prosperity never would have. Chapter 6: What this means for you. So what can regular people learn from Orange County's disaster? The lessons are more relevant today than ever. First, complexity is not sophistication. Just because an investment sounds complicated doesn't mean it's smart. Citron thought inverse floaters made him sophisticated. In reality, he was gambling with instruments he didn't understand. If you can't explain an investment to a 10th grader, you probably shouldn't buy it. Second, leverage is a double-edged sword. Borrowing to invest can multiply your gains, but it can also multiply your losses into bankruptcy. The average person should be extremely careful with any investment that involves borrowing. Your house mortgage is enough leverage for most people. Third, nobody watches your money like you do. Orange County citizens assumed someone was providing oversight. The Board of Supervisors assumed Citron knew what he was doing. Everyone assumed someone else was watching. In reality, nobody was. Whether it's your 401k, your city's budget, or your HOA's reserves, you need to ask questions and demand transparency. Fourth, past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Citron had 20 years of success before he failed. Markets change. Strategies that worked in the past can fail catastrophically in new conditions. Diversification and humility are your best defenses against overconfidence. Fifth, conflicts of interest are everywhere. Merrill Lynch made millions selling derivatives to Citron while internally mocking his incompetence. They had no incentive to protect him from himself. Always ask, how does the person selling me this make money? Are their interests aligned with mine? Finally, the biggest lesson: financial disasters don't announce themselves. Orange County was rich, successful, and confident right up until it wasn't. The warning signs were there: excessive leverage, complex instruments, lack of oversight, but everyone ignored them during the good times. Today, we see similar warning signs in different places: municipalities gambling with pension funds, corporations loading up on debt, investors piling into things they don't understand because everyone else is doing it. The names and instruments change, but the human nature remains the same. The Orange County bankruptcy reminds us that financial gravity always wins. What goes up on leverage and speculation eventually comes down. The only question is whether you'll be standing underneath when it does. If stories like this fascinate you, where we uncover the economic events that shaped our world while most people weren't paying attention, hit subscribe and the bell icon, because we're just getting started with these financial mysteries. Also, do not forget to like this video. It is a small ask, but helps enormously. Thank you.